Hello, and welcome to our Sunday meditation at the Light Institute and the Sanctuary of Light. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we divide this meditation into 3 parts to focus our consciousness and to get the most out of the potential of meditating. In fact, meditation is life, and life is meditation. So we can meditate anytime, in any way, in any place. We begin by asking our divine higher selves, which is the intuitive essence of your soul, your own inner voice, to take a form for you. And then we draw that form into our body so that we can sit in meditation as our true self. It brings us energy, it brings us peace. Then I will make a little om sound so that you can push the button, the pause button on your machine so that you can sit in meditation for as long as you like. The second part of the meditation is where we practice the art of radiance, because radiant beings illuminate themselves and the world around them. So we imagine that we're reaching up into the cosmos and we pull down a beam of white light down through the top of our head into our solar plexus. This is the seat of the emotional body. And from there we laser that white light out from us. That extends our auric field, our presence in the world. And so we can just continue through that part of the meditation, drawing the light in and radiating it out. I like to radiate it out across the planet and back into the sky so that I feel as if my consciousness is moving through our divine Gaia. Another Om. And then the third part of our meditation, we pick a situation or something going on the planet so that our meditation becomes a part of our purpose of giving to the world. And this one, because we're at this time of solstice, where there is a shift of light, there's an incredible change of energy around the planet, within the planet, and within ourselves. And so we're going to do a little meditation about opening that place in us that is ready for the shift, so that we can feel that our higher self can give us a tool that will help us to shift our consciousness, to renew ourselves, to renew our purpose in the world. Are you ready? Close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, we're going to practice the art of breathing, because when we exhale, it allows for our consciousness to move slowly deeper into a meditative state. So breathe in through your nose, and now exhale slowly through your mouth. And breathe in through your nose, and exhale slowly, commanding your brain to slow down, allowing your brain to relax and fill with light. Quiet your thoughts. And now ask your higher self, the intuitive essence of your soul, your own inner voice, the deepest, most profound guidance you have, to take a form for you. Matters not the form. It could be a light or a being, a tree, an animal. Matters not. Ask it to take form now. Ask your higher self to touch your body where you hold your divine essence. Just imagine that touch anywhere in your body and begin to breathe in through that touch. And now draw your higher self in through that point of touch so that your higher self comes into your body and you can sit in meditation as your own true self, encompassing the frequencies, the energies, the loving cosmic vibration of your higher self. Om. Breathe deeply into your body and reach up with your consciousness into the cosmos and draw down a beautiful beam of white light down to the top of your head, down into your stomach, your solar plexus. Hold it there for a moment so that it fills you, quickens your frequency, and then laser it out from you, stretching out your own field back into the sky, up into the cosmos, and just continue to draw that light down so that as it comes down, it quickens you, it frees you from thoughts, it expands your sense of purpose as you become present and out into the world. Just allow that to continue as you sit in meditation. Om. Take a deep breath into your body and to ask your higher self to give you a tool that will help you at this time of solstice to be a part of that quickening, of that shift in energy, so that you can rejuvenate yourself, you can bring about new potentials, you can move forward. That tool could be a symbol, or an object, or a color. Just see what your own higher self shows to you, however you imagine it. And then draw that tool into your body. Notice where it comes into your body. Feel its energy there, what it does for you. And now command the trillions of cells of your body, each one, to hold that tool, which will facilitate the quickening of your consciousness, the shifting inside and outside in alignment with this time of solstice. Take a deep breath into your body and open your eyes. You have a tool now. You could ask for that again and again. That's called an exercise in consciousness. That will really help you to align in your conscious awareness to the fact that you are ready to shift, that you are ready to change, that you are ready to be a part of this environmental, which comes from the sky, solstice, the change of seasons, and the change of heart, the change of energy in your own body. Thank you. And now the second part of our meditation is what we call knowings. People send questions from around the world so that we can bring them forward and uplift ourselves and everyone who is participating. And so Allison will read to us the questions that have come for today.
Chris, the first question is from Switzerland. Dearest Chris, how can somebody get over an alcohol addiction if it is part of their genetic encoding and runs in their lineage? I know there are ways to clear that with light. Can you tell us how? Thanks, and much love to you.
Oh, so nice. First of all, it's very important to understand a little bit about alcoholism. It is an imbalance. It's a biochemical imbalance. It becomes an emotional conversation, but it isn't one that you're going to will it away. You have to treat it energetically with great love and recognition. When we have alcoholism, it very often will end up with a problem in our liver, which is where we hold our energy, and in our pancreas, which is balancing the blood sugar. Now, alcohol, when it passes into the blood-brain barrier, which it does instantly, brings us up a happiness. but then that sugar level is drained from the blood and there's a drop. And so it's actually a depressant. And yes, it tends to run in families, but not just because you've inherited some genetic thing, but more so because you've inherited habits of a sense of self, habits of eating, habits of facing our lives, for example. What I've always noticed and written in my books is that I can tell a person who is going to be probably one who suffers from alcoholism by the time they're 4. Because children who are very, very sensitive, they have a large auric field, they're tuning into every nuance from their parents, etc., etc. They're very intuitive. When they grow older, they tend to try to block that out because they're not given any support, they're not given any teaching at how to use that gift of sensitivity. So they use alcohol to numb themselves. And so we always want to look at alcohol as a spiritual conversation, as an emotional conversation, and a physiological conversation. Now, in terms of the usage of light, we would have 2 octaves of that. The first one would be right into our pancreas, which is balancing our blood sugar. And right there is also the center of our emotional body. And so when we bring light into the pancreas or into the solar plexus area, that allows us to begin to rebalance this up and down roller coaster of blood sugar that is so influences the alcoholic personality. So the first thing we would do is just place your own healing hands, one or both, over your stomach right above your belly button. And then we're going to close our eyes and ask our solar plexus what frequency of light, what color it needs to balance this area, balance our blood sugar, to balance our emotions, so that our hunger for the alcohol is reduced. Take the first color that your body communicates to you. You might see it or hear it or feel it. And imagine that you're sucking that color in from your hand into this area. And feel that you're just bringing that color into your solar plexus, your emotional body, your pancreas, and then it begins to shift those frequencies. And just keep sucking it in for a moment. After a few moments of just drawing that light in, you'll begin to feel an opening, a rebalancing. Mm-hmm. The second part of that utilization of light to support or heal alcoholic difficulties comes on a deeper level, which you were mentioning, that conversation of what we call psychogenetics, inheriting the legacy of alcohol or alcohol addiction from someone in your family, for example. We know now that it's not just genes, it's what triggers those genes. So I would always say that that same intuition or sensitivity or blocking or escape conversation that was going on in someone in your family has been inherited by you psychogenetically, spiritually. And so what we're going to do is look into that point within your DNA that holds that vibration, and we're going to release it with white light, because genes are nothing more than a letter pairing. And so they can be shifted as to what comes to the fore or what is in the background or what is not activated. So close your eyes again and just imagine your DNA, however you see it. There's no right or wrong here. And imagine that you could perceive the point on your DNA where you have psychogenetically inherited that tendency to drink, to alcohol. It might look like a black spot or a shadow, a tear in your DNA or a web of some kind. Just identify that point of inheritance there. And ask your higher self to show you the brightest, most radiant white light and laser it directly into that point of psychogenetic inheritance for alcohol. And imagine that that brilliant white light is lasering that encoding out of you. That it's gone. Like that. And then look and see what happens. Maybe you see kind of a healing or a growing over or a new kind of light that comes up or a rebalancing. So that you know that it has occurred. And now command the trillions of cells of your body to recognize that shift in your genetic inheritance. So that every cell, the mind of the cell, is free from that potential, that genetic habit. So breathe deeply and feel as if now that is not your story. It's not a point of reference for who you are. It's not a point of repetition or association, but imprint that you can now be free. And take a deep breath into your body. And open your eyes. There are many foods and substances that support that as well. There's one called L-glutamine that also passes the blood-brain barrier and stabilizes the blood sugar in the brain, that helps with the pull in terms of the need for the quick sugar in the brain. So many ways to do this, but light and consciousness are always the deepest and best. Great love to you. Alison, the second one.
It's from Germany. Chris, will you speak about Hoarfrost Nights, the essential meaning of these 12 days around Christmas, and how people can use them for their growing?
Well, I think there's a little giggle in this, by the way, if I start with Hoarfrost. Hoarfrost is a kind of frost. It's kind of a crystallization that occurs at certain temperatures that create this particular kind of hoarfrost. The word comes from many hundreds of years ago in England, and it refers to a frost that looks like an old man's beard. So it looks like an old kind of threads of hair of a beard. And I would play that back to these 12 days of Christmas, and maybe there's an unconscious or a subtle connection there, because the 12 days of Christmas refer to the 12 days after the birthing of Christ to the Epiphany, which is the time in which the three wise men, the three magi, arrived, and the epiphany that they had was to recognize the Christ child as the Son of God, as a divine being, something we might call a great avatar in today's world. And so perhaps this hoarfrost idea comes as part of the story of those 12 days of Christmas. Now, of course, it also became a song, and they say that the history of that Christmas song, the 12 days of Christmas, was encoded. It was encoded with references to Bible teaching, so that Christians who might have been persecuted or needed to be trained to focus on their beliefs, their religion, that came from that song. For example, the first one is, the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a partridge in a pear tree. That in its encodings is supposed to mean Jesus Christ in the tree. And then the second one gave me 2 turtle doves. That represents the Old and the New Testimony. And so it goes into the 12th, until the 12th day of Christmas. And so it had some significance in terms of the structure of the Christian religion. How could we use that today? I would say that we would take it out of the context of what there was on this part of the Bible or that, and release it into its essence, into a flowing kind of energies, which were the gifts of what this Christ child brought. Peace, unconditional love, a welcoming without judgment, and the capacity to perform miracles. All that I do, so can you do as well. And so if we are going to follow those 12 days instead of actually giving a gift, you could focus on meditating in each day some aspect that is not caught in Christianity. Because all religions talk about faith and love and peace and healing. They all hold that because all of those are cosmic and spiritual points of reference. And so I would say that if you wanted to use those 12 days thinking about, again, these beings who were coming, it took them 12 days, according to the story, to arrive. So in the Christian world, in the Western Christian world, they say from the 25th of December through the end of the 5th of January, those 12 days. Now the other branch of Christianity starts later and ends later, but it's the concept of focusing your consciousness on something that is occurring. And I, of course, would say that if the Christed energy could whisper to us today, it would whisper to us, be Christ now, be holy now. Live that each day of your life and amplify it each day. Find a way that the Christed energy, whether it's healing or loving or giving or supporting, whatever it is, or creating miracles, we can practice miracles. We must begin to practice miracles and to see them around us. All of that and can bring us to the celebration of the Epiphany, the celebration of the recognition of the Christed energy, which of course is the legacy of all humanity. Each of us carries that within us, and it is time to utilize it. It doesn't matter what religion you may have, or no religion, but the essence of your spirituality, to bring that into focus. And again, in the same way we say, we celebrate birth here, we celebrate light there, we celebrate something else there. We give it a day and a name. We could do that with each day of our lives. It's not just the day of a saint, which is also part of that 12 days of Christmas, but perhaps the sainthood of our own divine essence. Great love, Germany. Get a little giggle out of that hoarfrost. Allison?
The last question comes from Alaska in the U.S.A. Dear Chris, I would love to hear what you have to say about the Christmas star that will be visible on December 21 for the first time in 800 years. Do you think this is a good omen for humanity?
Yeah. Well, we are always seeking omens. Unfortunately, we have the habit of looking for negative omens instead of positive omens. But I would say that something as miraculous as that, something we have not seen for 800 years, meaning none of us, soul family, have ever witnessed this. Now, this conjunct between Jupiter and Saturn happens every 20 years, but they have never crossed with 0.01% connection between them in about 800 years so that it could be seen. And that's why we celebrate it. The next one like that will be in 2080. So we want to really say tomorrow, and it's already happening in the Southern Hemisphere, solstice, this magical shift of the energies on the planet, where in the old days in the Northern Hemisphere, they said night had given birth to the sun. So after tomorrow, the longest night in the Northern Hemisphere, the light will be growing outside us. In the southern hemisphere, the dark will be growing, and so the light that has been there can be taken in so that it rests within the darkness, it rests within the night, and is ready to come out at the next solstice. So I would say that it is very, very sacred. And they want to call it the Christmas star. And, it's not very likely that at the time, whatever that time actually was of the birth of Jesus the Christ, that star was, according to science, actually doing that. But what we want to do is to look at it. We can look at it in our mind's eye, or you can go out tomorrow and about an hour after sunset and look to the west to see for yourself something that no one way back, imagine how many generations back, have never been able to see. But you will see it now, and you want to use it as an omen that says there is a message from the stars, from the planets. These are planets, the biggest planets in our solar system. And Jupiter is giving us the light of expansion and success and opening. And Saturn is saying, I will help Jupiter, but it has to be right. Let's bring it into form. Let's not just imagine it. Let's not just play with it. Let's make it real. And so these two friends have created an opening for us, an opening that allows us to find what it is, to reach and live our humanity in a new way that certainly was not there 800 years ago, but that we can begin through our bodies, through our cultures, through our consciousness, through our world at this time. And so this is a great blessing. It is certainly an omen that you want to utilize for yourself and for everyone and everything outside you. What a blessing is this constellation, this conjunct, this wonderful, wonderful moment of solstice. Use it.